Because of the themes in challenges, I am going to entitle this video Love 3. I actually don't know if that's a term you would ever use in tennis, and I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope, as I do when I play actual tennis. Challenges is a 2024 sports movie directed by Luca Guadagnino, who's probably best known for Call Me By Your Name. It was on a lot of early predictions lists for the Oscars, even before anyone had seen the film. It was longlisted last year by a lot of publications that speculate on the Oscars, and I was not excited to see it at all because I hated Call Me By Your Name. I thought it was extremely boring and mopey. As a proud, openly gay man, I thought, if this is what representation looks like, maybe we shouldn't be on screens. I actually didn't think that. But Challenges is a very different beast. Challenges is great. Looking back on Call Me By Your Name, the direction in Call Me By Your Name is actually very artful, and the performances are very good. So I guess it was just the screenplay that left me cold. It was by the guy who also used to write the Merchant Ivory productions, of which I'm also not a fan. So maybe he should just not write films. That would be a good solution to that problem. Anyway, I'm going to go into the plot of Challenges, so I'm not just sitting here talking to myself in complete nonsense terms. I'm going to spoil everything, so if you don't want it spoiled, switch off now, I guess. So Challenges tells the story of three characters. There is Tashi, played by Zendaya. She is a young tennis prodigy, very much in the vein of young Venus or Serena Williams. There is Art, played by Mike Feist, and there is Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor. Art and Patrick are old friends. They went to school together. They've known each other for a long time. They play as a doubles team sometimes. They meet Tashi at a party, and Tashi says that she will give her number to whichever of them wins a game the following day. Patrick wins that game. Patrick is implied to be the better of the two at tennis. Art sometimes asks Patrick to let him win because Art's family are going to be watching or whatever. Art actually had asked Patrick to win the game, to lose the game, where Tashi would give her number to the winner, and Patrick had agreed. And then Tashi made that stipulation, and Patrick decided to win anyway because he wanted her number. So anyway, Patrick and Tashi start dating. However, Patrick has no interest in education. He just wants to be a professional tennis player. He wants to start playing and start earning money that way. So he does not go to university, whereas Art and Tashi go to Stanford together. They sort of are friends, not really. They kind of hang out, they kind of don't. Anyway, Patrick comes to visit Tashi at Stanford. They get into a big fight. Tashi then plays a game where she injures her leg in a scene that is absolutely horrible to watch. I do not speak during films in the cinema. It's a golden rule that I have. However, during that scene, I said involuntarily, "Oh my God," because it is very, very difficult to watch. Well done, Mr. Guadagnino. You really made the case with that scene. Anyway, Patrick is not watching that match because of the fight that he had with Tashi. However, Art is. So Art rushes with Tashi to the hospital, and well, based on that, Tashi breaks up with Patrick. She and Art get together. She becomes Art's tennis coach. It's kind of implied that Patrick and Tashi might have broken up because Patrick would not let Tashi be his coach. Keep that in mind. Anyway, we then sort of, well, in the present day, I was going to say we skip forward. We don't skip forward. This film just constantly zips back and forth in time, like I assume a tennis match. I've never watched a tennis match. I assume that it is non-linear and done in a very confusing way. Anyway, in the present day, Art and Tashi are married. They are very rich. They have big sponsorships, despite the fact that Art is apparently not very good at tennis. He's losing all his matches. I'd call this unrealistic, but I mean, Tim Henman, if you were in England in the 90s, Tim Henman was terrible at tennis and he got paid a lot, so I guess this happens in tennis. I don't know why. Patrick conversely is down on his luck, very down on his luck. Patrick has a beat up car that he sleeps in. One scene says that Patrick actually comes from money and he is refusing to take any of his parents' money. He only wants to live off what he earns from his tennis skill. I think this is meant. I think this is put in there so that we don't just automatically want Patrick to win. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but sure. Anyway, because Art has been losing all his games, Tashi decides to enter him into a random, quite low stakes tennis tournament just to try and, boost his ego a little bit. Guess who else is playing in that tournament? That's right, it's Patrick. And the whole thing comes down to a final match between the two of them. That is the framing device of the whole film. We start in that match and then we flash back and forth in time to learn the other parts of the story. And in the final match, at the beginning, it's going Patrick's way, then it's going Art's way, then it's going Patrick's way, then it's going Art's way. Again, much like a tennis match, just going back and forth, back and forth. We also learn that Patrick and Tashi have been having some rendezvouses during the time that Tashi has been married to Art. They've not completely let their relationship lapse. Patrick, in a great scene, manages to communicate this non-verbally to Art. And then Art loses his mind, and you think that Patrick is going to win, but then they achieve a kind of equilibrium. And it comes down to one final set, or match, or volley, or whatever. I'm not going to pretend to know about tennis. I'll be honest, I thought that Patrick had already won at this point, and then they're like, there's one more thing to go. And I said, why? Well, I said why in my head. Again, I don't talk in the cinema, unless someone breaks their leg. Anyway, Art manages to beat Patrick fair and square, even though Tashi had asked Patrick to throw this match, but he doesn't. Art beats him fair and square, and they embrace, and it seems like the rivalry of 13 years is over. This film is incredibly well acted. I think Zendaya will get an Oscar nomination for this. I'd love to say that she will win, but I have no idea what else is going to come out this year, so I'm not going to call it that early. But I do think she will get a nomination. She is wonderful, and the character is delicious because you really don't quite know whose side she's on. You don't quite know what her ultimate motivation is. And it seems that genuinely her motivation is just get the best tennis. The best tennis she can see, that's what she wants. I think of this as kind of a favorite situation. Do you remember the film The Favorite with Queen Anne and the two women vying for her attention, where there were basically 3 lead performances, but for some reason they said there was one lead, which was the Queen, even though I think the Queen might have had the least screen time, and then the two supporting performances, which were the women vying for it, even though, again, the film was more about them than the Queen. Challengers has the same structure in that there is Tashi, and then there are 2 people vying for her attention, Art and Patrick, who are given, I think, pretty much equal footing in the film. I think they will be in the Oscars conversation. I think that Patrick is the more interesting role. He's kind of scrappier. He's the one who's down on his luck. He's a bit rougher around the edges. So I think between the 2 of them, Josh O'Connor is more likely to get a nomination than Mike Feist. I think he would probably be going in supporting, although I can see a thing where they say that Josh O'Connor is the supporting and then Mike Feist is the lead, just so that they can get more Oscar nominations, which they shouldn't do. They should just be honest, but whatever. Anyway, they're all brilliantly acted. They're all very interesting, and I do not care about tennis. I don't. I love wearing this jersey because it makes people think that I care about sports. I don't. I stole this from my ex. I don't know what sport this is from. I don't care. And I don't care who wins sports matches unless I am given 13 years of history in deliciously filmed cinematography with a psychosexual bent. I haven't yet touched on the reason why I think this film has entered into the conversation so much so quickly, which is that Patrick and Art kiss at one point. Tashi tricks them into kissing. But it's implied that they've had a thing for each other for a couple of years. It's implied that they still have a thing for each other all these years later. My main criticism of the film is that at the end, when they hug after Art wins, actually, they should have just banged on the tennis court. Like, you know, I assume that's how Wimbledon ends. And if it isn't, why not? Have you thought about doing that? Maybe then the ratings would go up. Anyway, it is a true psychosexual three-way love triangle, menage a trois, all those beautiful adjectives that people are throwing around. And it's a sexy, steamy film with a lot of hot scenes. There is one part where the camera is looking up at Mike Feist as he is dripping sweat literally onto the camera lens. So from the gaze perspective of filmmaking, GAZE, we are being dripped on by Mike Feist, and I appreciated that a lot. They should release this film in 4D so that I can get water droplets sprayed in my face in that bit. I would like that very much. And when they kiss, they could maybe just like a brush could come and like go against my lips. Just a suggestion. The psychosexual aspect is a huge part of the film. Tashi at one point says that tennis is a relationship. I have no idea if that's true. I'm sure people do claim things like that. I don't really care. It's compelling drama though. The filmmaking is wonderful. It's shot really well. My only issue is that this film is too long. It's very good. I like all of it. However, it's like having a really rich chocolate mousse where you have a spoonful, you're like, oh, this is so good. Another spoonful, it's great. And then just by the end, you're like, this is too much. Just stop. Okay, you could have stopped like 15 minutes ago. As I said, I don't know tennis. And this film, to its credit, doesn't stop and just explain the rules of tennis in a very awkward fashion. I don't know if that's because they assume that everyone knows tennis or because they're just trying to, you know, inhabit this world where everyone would already know the rules of tennis. Either way, I do think that's to the film's credit because I didn't want them to just stop and explain things to me, but it did mean that at one point, Patrick scores a very, what looked to me like a very decisive victory, and I was like, oh great, Patrick won, film over. No, they kept going, and they didn't need to keep going. You could have kept it to, I think, 3 volleys, sets, matches, whatever the term is, but in the present day game where it's one where Patrick's winning, one where Art's winning, and then the final tiebreaker where we learn that whoever wins. Otherwise, it's just too indulgent. That was also kind of a problem I had with Call Me by Your Name. The difference with Call Me by Your Name, it was indulging in things that I didn't really care about. There were a lot of shots of, you know, beautiful Italian scenery, which I'm sorry, Mr. Guadagnino, but I don't care. Please tell a story next time. See me after class, D-. But this time, it is indulging in a lot of interesting stuff. But it is still indulgent. I think that Guadagnino has a very good shot at a Best Director nomination. It's very flashy. It's very... it draws attention to itself. The cameras... the camera literally becomes a tennis ball at one point, so that's going to be spoken about if nothing else. That would make a very good little clip for them to play during the ceremony, so I think he has a shot at a nomination, and he deserves it. Yes. Overall, I really like this film. I recommend it. It is sexy, it is steamy, it's very fun. If real tennis were this interesting, I still wouldn't watch it, but I would disdain people who do watch tennis less.